So it's pretty straightforward what we're gonna do. I already prepared the second computer. Here it is, the PDC, which is well, that's the first one actually. The BDC is supposed to be here somewhere. If I don't see it, I will create another one. Yeah, I'll try, let's say, the GUI one. Let's say, I'm gonna put this GUI one. Okay, I'll call it BDC, backup domain controller. Okay, so the idea is if something happened with the first one, the second one to take over. That's the idea. Well, what we're gonna do after this on this tool, we're gonna create our own DHCP server, and we're gonna make the DHCP server redundant with the BDC as well. So we're gonna make a redundancy of the tool which will provide us with IP addresses, as well as we're gonna create something which is called a DFS, okay, or distributed file system. So basically, we're gonna be able to share our files between both. The same thing. If something happened, the other one will take over. What I need to do is to connect this to my switch here. Okay, I'll connected it, and as soon as I have all of this, I could eventually start. I'm going to start the infrastructure one by one. First, obviously, the firewall is what is important to be started. The next thing, what would be started? Well, I need to stop this thing actually here. The next thing I'm going to start will be the two switches. Well, I want to start the both of them because I want my firewall to be on completely. Okay, so before I start them, nothing will be actually done properly. So guys, what we do is actually the same like before. You start your server. Okay, that's my primary domain controller. Okay, you start the second one. Since it's a cloning of the other one, it will be easy. You know, it's almost done there. So here it is. It's starting. Now, what I need to do basically first, before I do anything else, is to do a sysprep, right? Because they are both of them are clones, and the SID are the same. They're the same, so I need to actually clean one of them. So at least on one of them, I need to do the sysprep. To do the sysprep on this one, and then I'll go this PC, C drive, Windows. I'll click because it's very. I mean, I could scroll it obviously here, System 32, and I could scroll again. I'm gonna scroll more this time until I find out sysprep here folder. Here it is. Right click on sysprep file and run as administrator. And don't forget, guys, here you need to click on the generalize. Everything else is okay. You need to say generalized. Click OK. Close this and wait until it reboots. Once it's rebooting, it will bring you through an initial setup Windows wizard, but it will change the SID, the security ID, meaning it will reset even my license. It will be back to 180 days. Okay. And basically, I'm going to be able to use, well, I need to do some additional settings, but it's fine. That's not a problem. Here this is rebooting now. These computers are very good, so as you see, guys, it works very fast. Very, very fast. As you can see, guys, I'm having the same kind of wizard which I follow, just to reinstall the like initial wizard of installation of Windows Server, which very fast actually could be reinstalled. And now my SID, my security ID of my computer has been changed. Okay, which is very important. All the networking services I would like to use will be working now. As well as, once again, one of the consequences, you're gonna realize that my computer will be able to you know, it will be having the same 180 days as the beginning. Okay. Here it is. You're gonna see the licenses right now. Do on this one, basically, most of the thing, let me check first. I need to have a static IP address, right? That's important. So basically, I'm gonna move this one on the top so you guys to see better. I'll move all of these guys here. Right click on this, open networking sharing center, change adapter settings, and we're gonna create a different one. Let's open actually the first one to see if we did the second already. And if we did it, just to use the same settings. I haven't put it the second one. Well, I'm gonna put it now actually. That's my first computer. And I'm gonna put here 192, 168, 120. I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna say okay. And this one, if you see, it's 10, right? It's 192, 168, 110. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'll close everything. I'm gonna create this one the same way. Say properties. I'll uncheck this, the IP version 6. I'll open this one and I'll say 192, 168, 120. Okay. The subnet mask automatically is okay. 192, 168, 11 is my firewall. And what I'm gonna say now, it's different than this one. You see, it's because we're gonna create a backup domain controller. The settings here are a little bit different, and you're gonna notice it right away. So say properties here. I'll open just to remind you how it looks. Here it is. That's how it looks. Now I'm gonna create. You see the DNS server. It points first to itself because that's the primary domain controller. Now here, this guy is the secondary. That means it will point first to the first one. So I'm gonna put here on the DNS settings the IP address of the other one. So I'll say 192, 168, 110. And then I'm gonna say 127, 001. You know, this guy points to itself, okay? And then I'm gonna say okay. Okay, you see now, you see I'll say okay on this one, just to save it. That's the new network. Say close. If I would like to double check it again, just to see the difference here, how they look. Okay, so the IP addresses, everything is the same. They are on the same network, obviously, but you see this one points, this one, the backup domain controller points to the primary domain controller. Okay, now I'll check also if I change all the names here, everything is fine with this, just in case. I'll go to the local server, I'll go, well, you see the name's supposed to be changed. Let's change the other thing. Enhanced, the Windows Defender is off. The Internet Enhanced Security Configuration, Internet Explorer is off. The time is been done. Now the firewall is off. And well, this one, the remote stop, I could enable it. It's a good thing. We're gonna check it after this. Okay, here it is. And the IP address is there. So I'm done. The only thing I need to do is to change the name, which I'm gonna put BDC here. BDC, I'm sorry, which is my backup domain controller. And I need to reboot now. You know, after you change the name or you join a domain, it will ask you to reboot. Let's check this one just in case. We're here now. Yeah, that's BDS. Everything is done properly here, as far as I could see. Here it is. It will prompt me now to reboot, and I will say no problem. You're gonna reboot. So I'm back. And now what I need to do is to make it a backup domain controller, meaning I need to add the active domain services role. It works almost the same like on the primary domain controller with one exception, and I'm going to show it to you. First of all, we need to check the IP address. That's fine. Now, by the way, if you have a second and even third network card, which sometimes is the fact. Now, if you would like to specifically say on which side the DNS will propagate, one of the things you do is to come here, change the adapters. If you would have two of them, right? You don't have two of them at the moment, but I'm just showing. So you choose the second one which you don't want the DNS to be propagated from, and you open the IP version 4. Then you go to the Advanced tab, and in the Advanced tab, you click on the tab here, DNS, which it says. And then you uncheck this one, register this connection address in DNS. So you unregistered it actually. That's what you do. As well as if this guy is a DNS controller or a domain name services here, controller, like this one it is, you open the DNS itself. So here you go to the tools, you go DNS, here it is. That's the DNS itself. That's once again if you have more than one network interface cards there. Okay, so you come to the DNS here. Well, by the way, our reverse zone is supposed to be created first, so that's what I'm going to do first. But you come here, you right click on the PDC where it says, and you see now it shows in the interfaces, it shows only one interface because I have only one. But if I would have had more, they would have been shown here. Then I just uncheck the ones which I don't want the DNS to be propagated from. That's very important, guys, because otherwise you might get DNS somewhere where you don't want to. Okay, so that's what I'm showing. I'm recording this so you guys to know how to do it after this if you need it. Okay, now the forwarders and the root hints, actually that's very interesting. These are all the servers which we spoke. Remember when I was explaining you the DNS functions, it was somewhere here in the beginning. When I was explaining you the DNS functions, we've been talking about this, and we said that there are something which is called root DNSs. Well, these are the root DNSs. Let me just find out the explanation. Here it is. So when we say the dot, or going and changing and checking for the root DNS servers, here it is. That's the one. Well, these are the root DNS servers. That's if the server doesn't know where to go and look for something, that's where it goes and look for. You see it's in that when I click on the name of the server, right click and I'll go to the properties and I'll go root hints. These are all the servers which the server knows to contact if he's looking for some information, okay? And if it needs to forward the request to another server, well, these servers will be here. And as you see, I already have one. 120 is here. Now, before we do whatever we're going to do with our backup domain controller, it's a good idea to come into the DNS, as I do at the moment, and to create our reverse lookup zone. Remember, the forward zone is when you have a name and you need to resolve to IP address. Well, the reverse one is when you have the IP address and resolve the name, the vice versa thing. So I need to click here, right, do new zone, next. It's a primary zone. It's our primary domain controller. I'll do next. Everything is actually by default. Here you need to put the IP address, only the first 3 octets as you see, which is 192.168.1. And if you see at the bottom, it will reverse it for you. Okay, it will do the reverse. Do next, allow, next, everything is just next here. And my reverse lookup zone has been created. Here it is. Now I need to be sure all of my records, here are my records, all of my records will be on my, well, it's only one at this point. It's supposed to go to the reverse lookup zone. So I'm going to click on this one, say properties, and I'll click here on this checkbox. I'll say update associated pointer, PTI record, okay? It's very important, especially when I'm going to work with the internet outside, okay? With web servers, mail servers, and so on and so forth. Something which will go through service providers. Otherwise, they won't allow me to go through, okay? I need the reverse zone there, okay? So what I do now, it's just to refresh and to actually I could do also the some refreshing and reloads. I'm going to see my reverse record here as well. I know it's a reverse when I see the PTI. Okay, so I'm done with this. Something which I need to do now, and it's very important, guys, to have here the other domain controller. Otherwise, they won't communicate to each other. Okay, now I'm going to say here active domain services here. It's the same thing. I'm just going to add and next wherever we did the first time. Restart if you need it, yes, install. So the installation of the active domain services is exactly the same as we did here. I'm going to actually pin this one to the taskbar so to be all the time with me. When you see this thing, you need to promote this server again, like before. Now the promotion though will be a little bit different. because we have the forest already created. Remember the forest, what I was explaining here with the, when we were talking about the cities, right, and the trust relationships and the other thing, right? So, I mean, I need to select the same domain. So I'm going to choose the first option now for the backup domain controller. And I'm going to say here, I'm going to say the domain. Let's put it here. It's test.local or LCL. Let me double check. Test.local. And we're going to say select. Now I need to put my administrator here. I'll say test. I need to see below where it says domain. I need to say the domain name. Well, I'll put here administrator. That's my user and my password for it. Click OK, and I will wait this to appear here. Now it won't appear if you don't do properly the DNS settings, which I show it to you guys. A bit of time, but here it is. When I see it, I click on it. I'll click OK, and it's done. Do next. And as I mentioned, everything from this moment on is the same. Well, I would have some other options now. I could create a read-only domain, actually. I would be able to create a read-only domain controller, but we don't care about this. I'll put the password here. It's a good idea to be different than your default one, but I'm using the same. Now, the default first site name, I have no other choice, but we're going to discuss this further. What are the sites? It's part of the forest thing. Moment. If I would have created a read-only domain controller, I could install it from the media now. Now, when it says any domain controller to replicate from, well, I would choose my specific one, which is PDC. In my case, say next. Once again, the database lock and sysvol, by default, you're supposed to create on different places. I'm going to choose the same. It's a lab environment. So next. Now it will show me, and if I need a script for this, here it is. I have a button. I could use the script. I'll do next here. It will check the prerequisites. I'm expecting to receive a green checkbox, which means the verification pass. Even though I see some of the yellow exclamation point, if I see in the general part the green checkbox, everything is fine then. I'll wait. Yeah, as it says, all prerequisite checks pass successfully. That's enough for me. I'll say install. And now it will reboot once it's ready, and it will be backup domain controller. It will back up my major domain controller. While I'm waiting, actually, I'm going to show it to you what it basically does. I'll go to my tools here, and I'll open the ADUC is called also. Active Directory Users and Computer, ADUC, ADUC. So I'll click and open this one. That's one of the major tools you're going to use a lot. Once it's open, I could actually pin it to the taskbar to stay there. And then I'll click first thing, view, and click on the advanced features. I would like to see all the advanced features here, all the options I would like to see. I'll go to users, and I'm going to see a couple of users here. This is the icons, only one person where it shows. Administrator, I say, default account, guest, and Kerberos GT. Now, basically, the two of them are administrator and the guest. And the guest, as you see, it has a little bit small arrow, which means it's disabled. So I'm going to right-click and I'll copy this guy, the guest. I'll create one with my name. I'll call it a sen, G, for my part of my surname. Okay. Well, I could create actually the surname, the user logon name like this, a sen G. Okay. I'll say next. User must change password. I don't know this. I don't want this. Password never expires. Okay. An account is disabled, so I'm going to enable this account. I'll say the same password. You know it. And I would say next here. Finish. And the user has been created. Here it is. Now, this one, meanwhile, has been done, and it will reboot. Okay. After the rebooting of the one, you're going to see it will be part of the test domain too. Part of the domain now. So put the password. Now, two things, if you remember, guys, after installation of domain controller, don't forget this. You go to a local server. In our lab only, once again, we stop the firewall for now. You see, there is a third one which just appeared, which is the domain one. We need to stop it. Now, in production, you never do this once again. Okay, we just stopped it here because it just appeared. As well as we go to our Ethernet. That's always you do after installation of domain controller. Well, here it is, but when you create on the primary domain controller, the second alternate DNS server will disappear, so you need to put it again. Okay, so these are the things you need to do after installation of or joining a domain. I mean, as a domain controller. And now, if I check here, if I go to the tools, by the way, I could change the. If I open now here on the tools, if I go and open the Active Directory users and computers, here it is. I would. Well, I need to show view again the advanced features here. You're gonna see there are more. If I go now to the users, I will definitely find out the assign user created here by default, because it has been replicated from the other database. Okay. And actually, if I come here on the database of this one, of the DNS of this one, well, sure enough, I'm gonna find out this one here too. And if I reload the zone and refresh it, I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna find it in my reverse zone as well. Okay, so that's how it works with the DNS and with the replication of the database of the schema and the active domain database here. It's very. Any questions, guys? Just because I finish, as you see, guys, the reverse and the forward zone has been replicated on the backup domain controller as well. That's the primary need of this guy. Okay, just to back up the other one.